Yeah, also.
Just brought up live on YouTube. We are in the World of Women podcast. Take it away, Zita.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zita, and I welcome you to World of Women podcast. I am the host. It's through Zita's Healthy Beginnings. And the podcast is brought to you by World of Ability podcast in collaboration with Transform You Network. And we're always glad for the opportunity to use their platform to reach out to our audience. Today is February 22nd. We are still in the love month. February is the month of love. And we also are celebrating women's heart health. So I've been encouraging people to wear red when they remember it, just to respect, the women's heart health. And this evening also, we have Zach and Kat and Emily, and since morning, they have been committed to the celebration we're having today in respect for our veterans. And they've been doing the 22 for 22. And that has been an event that is going to take 24 hours with different and various activities. And we are part of that activity, trying to reverence our veterans, to uphold, acknowledge, and empower them for what they have done for the United States and what they have done to for the world, actually, and the sacrifices that each veteran has actually done is being appreciated, deeply appreciated. And I know that most of the times we don't recognize them like we should. But tonight, this podcast, we are doing it in recognition of what they have done for us all and how they have been protective of their country. And we bow for them, we applaud them, and we are here to provide any kind of services that they might need, especially the women. I know women have really given a lot. Naturally, we are givers, we are nurturers. And to be a veteran on top of that is really going the extra mile. And I really applaud them for that. And I know all of us are very appreciative for all the veterans in the United States and even beyond the United States. Anyone who has really demonstrated that helping their country, protecting their community in so many ways to the point of giving their own life. For me, that is really huge, and it demands respect. It also calls for appreciation, and that's what we're doing tonight. So to crown it all, we have my friend here, Amber, who will be talking on all kinds of stuff that are not unfamiliar to us. In fact, things that also touches on what being a veteran means and other issues that we all need to always bear in mind, even especially as we celebrate the Veterans Day today. And so before we start, I'd like to read to you Amber's bio. So Amber Thompson is the founder of the first public system review platform, The Bias. The platform connects business outcomes to social issues through data accountability. Amber started her career in social work with troubled children, unhoused teens, and case management. While working with historically excluded families, Amber was fighting for her daughter's health and education while she was simultaneously trying not to lose her job. That's what mothers do. And she is an exemplary mother, and I'm proud of Amber. This led her to start a consulting company helping organizations develop equitable boards, engage marginalized communities, develop the processes to distribute resources fairly, and change policies and procedures to create equitable and just practices. Amber is a published activist and a public speaker on topics regarding equity and justice in education, sustainability, technology, media, retail, legal, nonprofit, community development, and economic development. She holds a bachelor's degree in behavioral sociology from Point Park University and a master's degree in organization development and change from Penn State University. So please help me welcome Amber to our platform. Welcome, Amber.
Thanks, Zita. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I worked on behalf of veterans as well and the many populations in supporting. My father is a vet and my uncle as well. So definitely in support of our veterans. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you do when you're to help the veteran?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
What is it that you do to help the veteran?
So right now what DeBias does is it targets vulnerable or marginalized communities, and we're collecting a database of business outcomes that create experiences. So in regards to veterans, how we would support veterans is identifying their community needs, veterans that exist in specific communities, or the services that they receive from their health services or psychological services, or even banking and housing. So the platform would be used for folks who are marginalized, such as veterans, to review and report their experiences with services or products that are targeting or advertised to veterans.
And what kind of problems do you guys run into? What are some of the issues that you guys run into with that?
So currently, we haven't been able to drill down to veterans, but the areas that we're covering and starting right now is around housing on a couple contracts. So we have in the region that I'm in, Pittsburgh. Housing is a major issue, but more importantly, it's an issue for people being displaced from the communities that they exist in. So applying for home loans, applying for banking services, applying for grants, entrepreneurial services, jobs. Those are the areas that we're targeting right now.
What would you say is one of your biggest needs for you to be able to succeed? Maybe a need that you're looking for that you don't quite have established yet, but something that you think could happen to make your work easier.
Well, one thing that we really need is to look at this as a collective action, right? Where each individuals, the platform focuses on people's individuals, but to collectively publicly show what businesses are doing to create biases or discriminations towards vulnerable communities. So definitely outreach to services that are targeting veterans. And I need veterans to use our platform to review their experiences in their day-to-day. Every service they come across, even if they're riding the bus, if they're taking an Uber, if they're going to their doctor's appointment, all of these experiences are created by how our systems are designed in regards to the decision makers, not regards to our community. So I would say our major need right now, we're targeting 3,000 reviews. And in the United States, this is a global project, it's a global platform. In the United States, veteran services are listed and look different than globally. So this is where another opportunity where you can share your experience as a veteran in the United States, and veterans from across the world can identify with your experiences and vice versa. We need to learn from everybody. And I think technology is a great way for us to say, here's my individual experience, but collectively, this is the identities I am, and this is how I experience the world. And there's a lot of other people like me.
Yeah, I think what you have, just to chip into what you just said, Amber, I have just last week, one of my dearest friends lost her younger brother to suicide, and he was a veteran, and he was like dissociated from the world, or family world, for years. And at some point they couldn't find where he was. And just last week she called me, and she and I have been talking about this today, what we're going to do, how she can participate, and what I'm doing and what we're doing as an organization. And now last week she just called and she said, this is what happened. And this has not really broken her. I mean, as a family, they are broken. But what she told me is that she's going to be able to get over this, but she will make sure that no other veteran suffer the way her brother did. And that's a way I feel that collectively we can really put our voices together, see what we can do collectively, because this is impacting not only families, not only individuals, but the whole global community. Nobody wants to lose a dear one who has sacrificed their life for the whole nation in that kind of manner. There's all kinds of post-traumatic stress syndrome right now going around, and it's even outside what veterans have encountered. So this is an addition. So when you think about it, it's tripling what this population is going through. So it's going to be collective effort. It's not going to be just an individual effort.
And I think something to add to that is the work that I did when I worked in a university to support veterans and registering and getting their benefits and reporting. My job in that university was to create a strategy and a chain of a workflow to decrease the time veterans needed to report for their benefits or register for their classes, just make it as easy as possible. But something that the universities don't process is that veterans experience like multiple marginalities. It's not just being a veteran. They might create a disability and an extra hardship where you're in a different class. The actual isolation that veterans feel coming back. Those are multiple marginalizations that we as society do not have the tools to be able to process, but not process to understand the individual, but even process to be able to respond to the needs of those individuals. And that's what I'm doing with the bias, and thinking about your friend's brother. where I come from, a lot of folks join the service as well. And how I feel about even the work that I've done and seeing the mental health issues, those services are not meant to actually help or support. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be using them. We should use them, but we should use them to understand how we can make it better. And that's what I want to do. My father, like I said, is a veteran. He travels still, always has to come back to Pittsburgh to get his services, complains about the wait, complains about the phone calls. We've had to help him with his paperwork. And all of this is an extra hardship that's not even considered in the day-to-day experience of our veterans in the country. So that's where I'm coming in. I'm creating a tool so we can lower the barrier entry for services that are providing for veterans, but also we can give veterans a space to record their experiences, a space to see they're not the only one, and also provide some resources after they've submitted their reviews to say, I'm experiencing this. Our research team will identify extra added supports, and that's something we can monitor and follow through from the beginning of the outreach to the end of the review.
Thank you so much, Amber, for your input. And I think we can actually continue this conversation later after your presentation. So please, if you could jump into the presentation and let's keep going with that. Thank you.
So you want me to share my my deck?
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to share my whole screen. Ignore my tabs. I'm a tab person, but sorry. I have it on my screen, but I'm not seeing the actual tab to share. Here it is. Okay, so go to the beginning here. And present all this. There's a lot of stuff on my screen here. Oops. I'm just gonna do it this way because, okay. There we go. Oh, it says, sorry, I'm gonna share my screen one more time. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is debias. And like Zita shared before, we're connecting business outcomes to social issues. And currently our systems in society, our systems in our communities, we lack the methods to analyze our policies and systems that have impacts on marginalized populations. So how I'm looking at it is we have many unchecked biases within our data, within our systems, within the fundamentals of our organizations, with people who are behind the scenes or processing claims, with our tools our tools and mental models and frameworks that people are using to design frameworks and in our policies. So I have this article here, Predictive Policing is Still Racist. And this was a MIT report. No matter the data it uses. And that's not because of the actual algorithms or the data itself. It's the input, the people who are collecting the information, the people who are analyzing the information, the way it's conceptualized is where the bias is put in. And these, and like I said, these inputs lack the intersectionality of people and communities. If we take it back to veterans, I think so often people look at veterans as one identity, right? But if you're a woman, you're a mother, you're a veteran, you have a disability, you might live in a rural region, those are multiple marginalizations. Those are the intersectionalities of those folks that are not actually communicated or understood enough to be able to support the needs of that veteran, right? So that's where wrong metrics are coming in. We're taking data in as a person, as a tally, each of these marginalizations aren't 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. This is a compounded experience that people are having. That means we need to have a compounded response to respond to that, right? So we're dealing with retention issues in jobs. Our budgets, our resources aren't going to support these intersectionalities. Ethics and integrity in our businesses are degrading our society. Cultural competency, how do we understand the people that we're working with? How do we understand the communities that we're in? All of these things are quantified or aren't quantified currently, but could be quantified for the businesses to understand what they need to do better, and for us as individuals to know where we should be, where we should divest our time, our labor, and invest our resources and money to places that understand our intersections, right? So Debias is a platform, and this is just the preliminary. I just launched today. So we're still, we still got some bugs to work out, but it's a 3-month iterative cycle. And I think how our businesses, our services, our communities should be able to respond to us is in iterations, where we are building on each change. We're building on everything we learn, and it's not linear where we do this first or second. But again, we need to have the infrastructure to respond to those multiple marginalizations. So we anonymously survey all stakeholders. We're not just looking at our workplaces, but again, we're focused on our communities. We're centering communities, marginalized people first. And we're surveying stakeholders across all business verticals. We're surveying communities, governing bodies, and we're assessing the inequities that predict discrimination or bias in that organization's decision-making powers. And our software learns where the barriers exist, so we can pinpoint where in this workflow, or where in these outputs, or where in the services the discrimination exists, so we can prevent that. And how it happens. And then it generates a customized recommendation to decrease time and planning and costs associated with ineffective solutions. So essentially, we're lowering the barrier for all businesses to be able to understand communities, marginalized people, historically excluded communities, and be able to act within 30 to 60 days. This isn't a year process. This isn't a talking. This is really people coming to the platform saying, I experienced this, and us being able to operationalize that information to act on it. So we're selling equitable outcomes as a service for businesses. This is free for individuals. This is a collective action we're taking as individuals, but the platform creates a collective response to tell companies what to do. So we're creating a safe space from retaliation, mitigating implicit bias. We're assessing the effectiveness of enterprise initiatives. So you see a lot of outreach to communities in regards to some kind of economic or job placement. We're actually reviewing that to understand, is it effective? If so, how? What outcomes does this create for the communities intended? And if it's not effective, how can we make it better, or how can we do something different? We're automating plans and monitoring those outcomes. We're increasing optimization of equity investment. So again, all of this money that goes into supporting these communities, we're increasing those investments and making sure they're effective. And we're creating socioeconomic insights. So we have 3 companies on the platform currently, where we have a patent that's pending. We have 5 pilots. We're looking for 20 more. And we have about 350 reviews before the platform was public and launched. These are our competitors. A lot of these companies you may already have heard of: Glassdoor, Gallup. Those 2 companies more particularly are very large, but they're not actually identifying the intersections of what's happening in our communities. And these are pricing models for companies. But again, the cost is not on the individuals. The cost is on the businesses. And this is our target area market. So we're targeting community economic development membership organizations. We're targeting the organizations that are focused on increasing community and economic development for marginalized communities. And through that, we can change those multiple organizations in a larger region and connect to more communities at once. So our community assessment tool is being deployed for employees, partners, and residents and communities. Again, we just are going live today, so we'll be deploying that in the North Side, Hazelwood, and possibly Lawrenceville in the next month. We're quantifying the risks and publicly sharing community responses. So you'll be able to see, oh, here's my age, here's my race, my ethnicity, my status. You'll be able to see those and say, this company treats me equitably, or this company is one that needs to do better in regards to my identities. And then we're going to share quantify metrics. Sorry, Zita?
No, go ahead.
Oh. And then we're going to share this quantify metrics of impact with companies to say, here's where you're doing well, here's where you have opportunities, and here's how you fix this. So our team, I have over 10 years designing equitable systems, worked with all marginalized communities and many different business sectors. Kaaliani Singh is my community manager, so she's working with the individuals who will be producing the reviews and creating that relationship and rapport. This isn't a one-off task. We are going to continuously be trying to build habits in people to provide us that feedback. And then our CTO advisory team's mile marker, that's Dan, and he is helping to support the tech end. So we launched today. Again, we're still debugging. We're creating our AI products for industry equity ratings. So by May, you'll be able to see how these companies are rated for your identities in regards to equity. And we'll be able to create an AI product for policy analysis. So we'll be able to say, okay, these are the organizational policies. These are the how they're regressive or progressive. And if they're regressive, here's how you modify that. And here are the outcomes you can achieve. And we're targeting 25 pilots for this year. And we're targeting 3,000 reviews over the next 3 months. So if you have data you don't know what to do with your people data, or if you're an individual that is concerned with your bank, your housing, your social services, your local government, please reach out to us. We are, again, targeting 3,000 reviews over the next 3 months, and we're targeting 25 pilots over the next year. This is our advisory board. Thank you. Thanks, Zita. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think okay.
You were on mute, Zita.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Amber, for that wonderful presentation. And I know a lot of us that are not, some of us that are not really used to, listening to all those words and, population issues and all the statistics, the data and stuff like that. Sometimes it sounds like a Greek. But the truth of the matter is, these are the areas that we all need to be aware of, because they are very significant and they play a crucial role in how our lives are being lived, fully or underlived. So this is very, very critical. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that we have a woman who is a mother and who has all the responsibilities at her own, her responsibilities, as well as trying to bring all this information to us. That's a lot of work. So I really applaud you, Amber, for what you do and for your organization. And I'm going to open it up for people. Anyone with any questions, please, this is your time now to ask Amber the questions that you have.
I have a question about my big concern is what is being done or not done for veterans, particularly. There's a lot of talk. I think you mentioned that mental health, there is not much done for them or not effective. How is that going to change? How can we change that?
So the way that my surveys are produced is that they're more action oriented versus just asking, is this service effective? So some of the questions that I'd be asking in regards to those mental health services is the actual intake. How long did it take for them to respond? How was how was your insurance taken? How was your therapist? What are your sessions? What was the cadence? And then really ask about those interactions. How is this ineffective? It's enough to say that these mental health services are ineffective. We know because of the mental health of our veterans, but we actually don't know where that ineffectiveness happens. Is it the actual service? Is it the culture of the organization that's providing the services? Is it the money that is funding those services? There are a lot of different components that make up social services that a lot of people don't see and understand. And that's really where we're trying to do is empower people to understand, okay, if our intake looks like this, we should anticipate this. And then we can give that back to those social services and say, fix this. If they don't, that is a place we know we shouldn't be investing our time, we shouldn't be investing our money, and we should be holding them accountable to either fix it or go away. I have no other way for that. But even let's say after those services, right? My background in social work and being raised on the DSM, I have I think a pretty good understanding of how I should feel or what kind of follow-up should be happening. There should be a cadence, there should be a plan. And those are things that I don't think all therapists are even told with themselves, right? So maybe it's not intentional, but it's just a lack of support or a lack of intentionality to make sure that they're actually providing the services that that veteran or that person needs.
Thank you.
I think also, if I may add, from my own little experience, is a lot of things that I will blame on our system, because many of us are really struggling with the way the system has really designed some of this, either therapy or support, maternal support or child care or whatever you want to name it. The way it's been designed sometimes it really defies the purpose. So it's like, okay, so what are we doing this for? So it's really hard. And in that case, to fix it, if we're really ready to really know what needs to be done, is to change the system. Some of these things are designed. We better go back to the system and have it, revisited, see other ways that it could be redesigned to really meet people's needs.
Yeah, and to add to that, I'm a firm believer, and not everything can be reformed. And I know for something that I always teach my colleagues about in regards to searching mental health services that I don't think a lot of people process is the actual education the therapists are receiving. And that's just a small part of the system, right? So if we see this is where the data can help and support. If we see a lot of therapists who have this background from this degree school and this accredited school, we know that the root issue is that university and how they're actually teaching therapists. And that's where where we have an overlapping or an institution of systems that is actually the issue. And it's hard to just say like mental health services is a problem. No, academia is also a problem. And so is our insurance providers. That's the healthcare industry overlapping on the mental health industry, overlapping on the education industry. That's 3 different systems that folks who advocate for mental health don't understand. And it's the same with housing, right? Our housing advocates say we want these services for our veterans. We want to create affordable housing for them. But in that housing, we have to have services for them 24/7. This isn't a regular housing unit. We need to be able to support people who need to focus on themselves. So that's other institutionalized system that's overlapping on 3 that are it, and that's that compounded effort that a lot of people don't know, but now we have a way to see that connect, the way to people to connect the dot and see that and not be told it.
Yeah, so true. And it's sad to say that insurance dictates what happens in the medical world right now. And so there's even no regard for a doctor who spent all those years studying diseases and treatments, or even a nurse who understands what the patient needs at the bedside or even in their homes, but it's insurance, somebody who had no clue of what it means to be sick and needing care is the one who is determining who gets what and when and where and how. So that's why I always point to the system. I'm sorry, I don't have any apologies about that. It's the system. So if we're really ready to face the reality and fix it, we better go to the source.
And to add to that system, the insurance, right? Something we don't know is what are the needs or the challenges of folks in the service that aren't covered in their insurance or aren't covered under any insurance or are covered under an insurance that they don't have. Like, we need to actually be really intentional on the front end from day one to say, here's the information we need as a person who's just got out of the service. Here are the challenges that are overwhelmingly happening. And there's a pattern. This is not, that's really what I'm good at, is pattern tracking. There's an absolute pattern. There's no anomaly. There's no exception to the rule. It is happening consistently, and it's not being quantified to actually target those systems. And it's because those systems are the ones who should be tracking it. I should not be creating this. Our government should be creating this. Our health insurance should be creating this. Our doctors, our institutions should have this already, and it's something that they claim they do. Here's a feedback channel. We have no feedback loops in Pittsburgh. I don't care what anyone says. I've done too much work around here to be able to support that there's any feedback loops. There are no channels for people who are actually impacted to respond and say, this doesn't work, fix it. And if you don't fix it, here's, you shouldn't be receiving these subsidies. You shouldn't be receiving these grants. You shouldn't be receiving any funding to support something that's not only ineffective, but handicapping folks in the impacted community. So there's a lot that needs to be done that's just not being taken serious.
True.
I'm amazed to hear that veterans need to have insurance. Is a veteran not somebody who automatically should have been given insurance for their service to the country?
They should have the best insurance.
Absolutely. Free of charge. Yes.
Free of charge. But not only do they have not the best insurance, there's some of the worst care. They have to use these
Yeah.
VA hospitals. And not to say all VA hospitals are bad, and not to say all that is where we're stuck at, right? We either have to create a blanketed statement and say our VA hospital system is crap, or we need to take the work to say this hospital system can improve in these business verticals, right? They can improve in their outpatient care. They can improve in their customer service.
Yeah.
They are really well at providing eye care, or they're really, there are things that they're doing well, but we don't have that. We don't have that institutional knowledge to be able to even communicate that. But our veterans should be receiving the best care. They're not. They should be receiving the best education. They're not. They should be receiving the best, period.
Yeah.
But they're not.
This is not only in Pittsburgh, it's like it's a national issue. And it's so sad to hear, because I know some other countries where veterans get the best and everybody longs to be part of it. But here, I think the reverse is the case, and it's so sad,
In that system, like even the labels, the statuses compared to other countries, right? I don't care if you were dishonorably discharged, you participated. Where is this status of and that I don't know if that's just unique to the United States, because again, this is something that I'm developing, but it's a pattern, right? These statuses are used to allow these institutions to opt out of the support that they should be providing. There should not be a level to this. And if we're going to make blanketed statements about everything else, why not make blanketed statement about the status and make this easier and less convoluted? And the people who are even supposed to own it don't understand it. So again, that system is intentionally being designed to slow things down, make it harder, make people fight. And this is not a fight we should be having. The energy's already been expelled. Let's just make it easier moving forward.
Yeah, and that's what happens to some of the veterans. They fight and they fight. I mean, like, they have fought at the war front. Now they're coming home to still fight to get what they deserve. I mean, like, some of them would just give up and not even bother anymore. You want to go visit them in their homes, they don't care. They come to the wherever they're, they don't even care anymore. And you really wonder, what's going on. If they share their story, you will really understand where they're coming from. And that should not be.
My uncle, he's a Marine vet. I'm not sure how long he was in the service, but it was a pretty long time. This was in the 80s. And we had a conversation about racism in regards to brotherhood. He's a Marine, and in regards to brotherhood and outside of the brotherhood. So he has a colleague that he is very close with, that I had mentioned to him in their business that they discriminate against a lot of different people, and their services aren't meant for everybody. And he said, "Are you calling him racist?" I said, I don't know if he knows that he's doing these things, but I'm going to say that the patterns that his business has are racist. His business is not in the business of servicing a lot of people based on race, period. So that is a power dynamic that he has. And he said, well, we serve together. The only thing we know is brotherhood. And I'm like, that's on the battlefield. This is not the battlefield. And it's a shame that is where you are connected to him at, because he does not respond off the battlefield the same. And that's because we are and again, I don't know if he intentionally does it or not, right? But the point being that if I didn't bring this awareness to my uncle, we didn't have this conversation, I would never have understood how someone he's older, I think he's 65. I would never understand how his experience with what I'm saying and what I'm experiencing is different in my society, and why I can't understand how him and my mother are friends with these people who I know they do these things, and I tell them they do these things, and they kind of shrug it off. So his thing was like, well, he's my friend. I'm like, well, talk to your friend then. That's all I'm asking. See if it's intentional, because but his connection to him was their time in the Marines. And that's it. That is important. But also, I'm like, Uncle Erskine, there's some kind of generational wealth he's passing on to his family that you also didn't have access to. That's also another problem that you're not seeing. So it's complicated, and it's a necessary conversation to have. But we do need to let people tell their stories, but not tell their stories where we are exploiting it, not tell their stories where we're extracting our own agenda, but allow them to tell their stories that we can create a pattern to be able to not have that same story again, because that was in the 80s. We're still dealing with it in 2022.
Yeah, very important that we share our stories. And that was part of why World of Women was established. We say World of Women is where women thrive. You can't thrive if you don't share your stories. You can't thrive if nobody knows you, because the only way we know each other better is when we share our stories. And you can't take advantage of my story, and I don't want to take advantage of your story. The essence of sharing story is to enrich, understand one another, support one another, and collectively find solutions to the issues that we all face in our everyday life. So thank you so much. Hannah, you have your hand up, please. No, unmute. Unmute.
Sorry. Hi. I'm sorry I'm late. I just came in from work, but I want to share this. My companion, and we've been together over 20 years. He's a World War II vet. And I go to the VA with him. And, sometimes he has to fight for his medication. He still has a supplemental insurance with his Medicare. He still needs a supplemental insurance. I see that now. Hearing aids, he has to wait 3 to 4 years to get new hearing aids. So I see what's going on in the VA, and he served his country World War II, and he has to fight for medication, and sometimes, and his doctors. He just got a new doctor. He really hasn't seen this doctor maybe once. So yeah, I mean, I see these things, and it really bothers me.
Now, to just go into like how I would approach this, here are some of the questions I'm wondering, right? What was the process for him to even get to find out that it would take 3 to 4 weeks to get that hearing aid? You're on mute.
I'm sorry. It's actually not 3 to 4 weeks. He has to wait 3 years, right, Mel, to get a new hearing aid. What they say, 3 to 4 years to get new hearing aids. Yeah.
And is this a quantity issue? Is this a healthcare issue? Right. And we can say like 3 to 4 years is bad, but it doesn't matter if we can't change it, right? It doesn't matter if we can't say, why is this happening?
Right. In fact, he got his aids. All right. He's been getting aids in 2020. He can't get them for 3 to 4 years. He got it in 2020, right? His doctor said you can't get it until 3 to 4 years from now. New hearing aids.
What was the reason for that?
That's their policy. That's
what I'm saying. It goes back to policy.
It used to be every 3.
It used to be every 3. Now it's every 4.
I mean, 3 is ridiculous.
Yes, I know. So if you're deaf for 3 years, you have to wait to deal with it until it's 4 years. I mean, that's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 3 years, to me personally, you have to justify that policy. right?
Mhm,
Is it
mhm.
because you don't have the quantity or the resources to provide it? Is it because it's quote unquote abused? Because abuse is another tactic to use
Right.
to withhold resources. Is it something that's over resourced in one area, right? Where 3 to 4 years is a policy for his VA system, but the VA system and I'm not sure where you're at, but I'm just gonna say Minnesota. I don't know, some random place.
New York, we're in New York State, and
But and it might be different in Minnesota.
yeah.
And it could be because Minnesota is less populated than New York. Those are things that VA doesn't do. A lot of institutions don't move across silos. Firstly, that's the waterfall framework of our business models, but especially governmental, it's intentionally designed to be siloed. So we can disenfranchise people in one place and over resource somewhere else. But those are things that I'm working on, because if you're going to tell me this is a policy is where my heart lies. You need to justify the policy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and then they wouldn't give him, like, he was on a blood thinner. They wouldn't give him a blood thinner, and this a medication would cost him like $300 or $400 a month, certain blood thinner, but it ended up he went off them anyway. But I mean, they don't, it was just awful. I felt so badly. That you're right. He served his country, and everybody. What about everyone else? All the other veterans.
Exactly. We need a way to empower, a way for him to be empowered to say, this is what happened to me. What are you gonna do about it?
Right. Yeah, that has to be an outlet where people can really speak up.
Yeah.
And no matter what, really, I believe in being generous, helping people, doing nonprofit organizations that provide support to veterans.
Right.
But for crying out loud, veterans deserve to be treated, especially in their own country, for serving the country. So yes, while we are trying to find other resources to support their needs, we still have to, for me, the ultimate support we must provide to veterans or even to any kind of marginalized population is to question policy, to bring it to the boardroom. And that's why that's part of my actually, that is my mission, that is my purpose, and that is my really what do you call it, my passion, is to question certain policies that are not life-giving. This is one of them. I mean, you can find resources elsewhere, but United States is rich enough, and the amount of money that is being spent in healthcare is highest in the whole world. And the healthcare outcomes, they suck. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
Could I ask a question to the audience? How would, Hannah, you and your partner, where would you like to communicate, like, his experience? Where would you like to see that communicated?
Well, we live in the Mid-Hudson Valley of New York State, and he goes to the VA. It's called Castle Point, New York. The VA hospital is up there, and all the offices. We also have an office in Goshen where he'll go and see his doctor. And now he got a new doctor. I don't even think he hasn't seen his old doctor, was promoted a year ago. He's never seen his new doctor. So, I mean, the local VA, we're in Goshen, New York. So
while you're going to the doctors, maybe at that visit, someone would say, like, how was your experience? You would share, like, we were told it takes 3 years to get this hearing aid, from 3 to 4, and that's still ridiculous.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, if he would get a regular hearing aid, it's $5,000 for aids. It's very expensive. So of course he goes to the VA, but now that he has to wait, they come out with new. His doctor said, we come out with new things every day, but Mill can't get it. for literally 4 years now. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. Johannes, if someone was asking you about things that you've experienced, where would you like to communicate that at? Or how would you like to communicate it?
To date, I've been very self-sufficient, and this is a new subject to me, and I find it very interesting because in the future, I'd like to be more involved with helping others. I'm blessed, I'm healthy, I'm very well. And the veteran issue that I heard today just shocks me that these people are not looked after in the top possible way. So I have no complaints in life, and I have no things going bad in life. I've had them, been there, done that, but all taken care. I wouldn't know where to go if I had an issue.
Thank you. What about you, Zach?
Zach still with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I'm getting ready to continue my podcast.
I was just asking, thinking about Hannah and her partner's experiences. If you experience anything like that, where would you like to communicate that you've experienced these type of hardships, or where would you like to see that those type of hardships are happening? How would you like to see it?
We've been talking all day long, and I've been podcasting now since 2 a.m. Mountain Time this morning. So on this 22-hour podcast, and the truth is that we're hearing these stories all day long, these horror stories of how our veterans are being mistreated, and that's just, quite frankly, that's it. We're seeing better treatment in free clinics than we're seeing for our veterans. Look, I'm not saying anything bad about the free clinics. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that we're not taking care of our veterans as a whole, and our government is kind of throwing them out there to, fend for yourself, and that should not be the way it is. That's just not the way that this should be. And that's kind of exactly what we're trying to get across today, is that, you know what, our veterans fought for this country. Our veterans deserve better, and that's just, as far as the solution, where I'd like to see it, I just like to see somebody, walk in and shake it up, because it needs to be shaken up. I mean, it's gotten bad. It's gotten really bad, and we need a change. And that's basically, and that's from hearing stories all day long from people who cannot find proper health care. And our whole study, our whole program today has been about losing our heroes to suicide. And with the shoddy VA system, it's no wonder that we're losing what we're losing, because they fall through the cracks. So I would personally like to thank you, Zita, for being part of the Power Pack podcast today. Thank you very much for joining us today, Amber. You did great. So, but we're going to, we've got our next guests on the other one. So we're going to let you guys finish up here. And we'll be joining with you guys again next week. So, but you guys did a wonderful job. Thank you to all Zita, all your guests.
Yeah, thank you so much, Zach, for your contribution. One question I have for you, quick one, is like you've spent all day long listening to all the stories. I
Yes.
hope we are documenting it. And in the end, I know the whole idea is to raise this awareness, to find other alternatives to support our veterans. But I am a strong believer in questioning authority. And I hope at the end of today's event, which is very, very important, that there will be some kind of data, there will be some kind of report that could be sent to the next level, whoever that person is, so they know what actually transpired today. Because it's very important that they know that people are speaking out, people are going through hell in their own land where they deserve the best. That should not be. So please, let's make sure that things are being, taken up to the next level, and not just, finding solutions for now, but we need to really not only support the ones right now who are veterans who have served, but even the ones at the war front right now. What kind of support are we living? Something to really make them look at us and say, yes, I'm going back to my fatherland, the motherland, and I'm going to be supported for the rest of my life because I've given my best. So that's very critical. And I believe that you guys are going to do a good job of making sure that who needs to hear this hears it.
Well, Zita, one of the things that we're really going to work on, and I absolutely agree with you that this needs to be, this needs to be run up as many flagpoles as we can run it up, because this is ridiculous. These are our heroes we're talking about. These aren't, and we're not talking about athletes. We're not talking about actors. These are actual heroes, ones that fought for our country, and they're being neglected, and they're going sick while others are getting great health care. And it's unheard of. It should be unheard of. This needs to stop. And we need to, as we always say in community pay it forward, we all need to come together and we need to make changes. And it's about time that somebody stands up to the powers that be and say, fix this now. And you know what? We have talked now since, once again, it's 7:05 here in Colorado. I've been sitting right here in this chair since 2:00 this morning, and we've been talking to people all day long about this because this is that important. And you are right, and we are going to do this. We're going to get together. We're going to talk about this with the people who need to hear about this. So, I would say if there's something that everyone can do who's listened today at any point in time, write your congressman and say, hey, you know what? Go on to PACT. Go on and watch that 22-hour podcast, and you tell me why our veterans are suffering this way, while our government is sitting there not doing anything about it. We need to do this. We need to let people know that, damn it, we're tired of this. We're tired of seeing it. We're tired of seeing people get hurt, good people signed a paper to basically give up the right to their life if they went sent over into action. They signed that piece of paper to go and volunteer to give up their life possibly, and they're coming home and they're being treated like miscreants. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. So
I agree.
Zach, I just want to say one thing. What about all the veterans that are coming home with the PTSD?
Yeah.
Are they?
There's unfortunately there's not a lot being done, and Hannah, that's what we've been discussing all day long. I've got a guest coming up who he helps mothers he helps out mothers who are pregnant who are contemplating suicide. Howard's dealt with suicides before. He's dealt with a lot of things. I've also got my brother Theron who's coming on, who's a great musician. He's one of my very best friends in the world, and he's going to play some songs for us. But the thing is that, we need to stop worrying about some of the things that we worry about. We need to start worrying about what's important. And if we don't start dealing with the mental health issues in the country from stem to stern, if we don't start worrying about mental health issues, it's never going to get better. So we, as the people, it's time. We, the people, need to stand up and say, we want to put an end to this. It's time you start taking care of our heroes. Stand up. This is time. Our heroes need us. Let's be there for them.
My brother-in-law served in the Navy in World War II. He suffered from PTSD.
Yep.
They didn't do anything for him.
Yep. My
You know,
grandfathers were, one was in the Pacific and one was a ground medic in France. And the one that was a ground medic in France really messed him up. And that was one of the stories I was able to tell this morning. And it brings me to tears every time I tell that story, because
no.
I watched a really good man drink himself to death because it was shell shock. It was you're being a wimp. It was you're not a man if you feel. And it's wrong. And it's time that we stand up for our heroes. So once again, everybody, I'm going to go on ahead and continue this, but I want to thank everybody for being part of this momentous podcast. Like I said, 22 hours, we're almost getting close to the end. Almost. Not quite, but we're getting there. So, but thank you guys very much for participating and being a part of 2 Save 22 today. You've all done a wonderful job. Please make sure that you guys share this information with others. We need people to watch this, and we need to let people know, damn it, we're tired of this. Let's get something done. So, Zita, you're beautiful. I love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zach.
Very, very great presentation, Amber. Thank you, Hannah, for your story. Tell your husband, tell your companion, best of luck. If there's anything we can do to try to help you out, please let us know. But everybody, once again, we're going to be leaving World of Women right now, and we're going to be doing something else. I implore you, please stick around here, finish out the show with Zita and her guests, and then come on back to Pact and let's watch Theron and Howard, because we got some good stuff coming up. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Very
Amber,
well.
I have
Bye,
a quick
Zach.
question for you, Amber. So I wanted to ask, how do you guys gather your data? I'm looking at, I know that there are all kinds of veterans hospitals around Pittsburgh and even beyond. So do you tap into their own system to gather some data or not? How does that work?
We're in the process of trying to create those partnerships now. There are some public data, but what I'll be honest is that a lot of this data isn't disaggregated. So it doesn't really allow us to understand, like, to a granular level what's happening. So we're building that granular level data. And what we want to do is be in those clinics. We want to be in the spaces where folks are receiving services. We want to be on ground and make it a grassroots effort to accommodate people, whether it's through our platform technologically. My uncle's like, don't send me a link. So, I'm working with him and we're creating a paper or a text way. Or if you're coming into the doctor's office, that's something we can just support. We want to work with case managers. We want to get that data from the ground versus the institution, because the institutional data is actually what's flawed, intentionally or not. We can't rely on it to be able to make those decisions. So we are in the process right now of really trying to understand what that grassroots effort looks like.
All right. Sounds good. I really like that. Yeah. So it's been really informative, the topic, and you have really done your best to teach us, educate us on what this whole thing is about. And as I said, we all know what is going on. Everybody understands it. Everybody knows the problem. What we want to look at right now is the solution. So we want to collectively watch out for the solution and collectively get into that and embark on it with all kinds of specialties. We have skills. Everybody has a role to play in this whole situation. And I am so glad that you were able to come and all that you're doing. I appreciate your work, your courage. And please keep it up. It's not easy. Sometimes it feels alone, but you're not alone. Just know that you're not alone in all that you do. Each one of us is being called by God and enriched in so many ways that other people don't, have. So, and you must use your skills and talents, because that's how you're going to find your joy and happiness and fulfillment in life. So I am glad you've taken that up and you're really running with it. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm going to have you come back again to our podcast and give us more information, because we need this ongoing education. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this wonderful platform podcast today. I hope to see you next week. And next week, we are having another presenter, powerful woman from Canada, Sandra. She's from the Caribbean. And she's going to talk to us again about what it means, conscious and unconscious racism. So we're going to get enough of this year, because I think the planet is calling us to pay attention. So I am so happy, and please, you guys come back again next week, and let's keep going. Let's keep sharing our stories, because it's through sharing our stories we get to know one another. We've learned a lot about Amber today just because she showed up here. And that's how we all gonna grow and improve and make our world a better place. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a blessed
Thank you,
night.
Amber. Thank you,
Thank
Zita.
you, Amber. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Zita and
Thank you, Joannes.
Amber.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you,
you.
Amber. Have a good night.
Have a
Bye.
good night.
Bye.
Good
Bye,
night.
Amber.
Bye.
Bye.